Hi, I'm Scott Jensen, former Assembly Speaker.
And I'm Chuck Chvala, former Senate Majority Leader.
And we're the Insiders. And this week, like the rest of the nation, we're talking about Kenosha. The whole country has been focused on that city. I think people in Wisconsin are stunned by what happened there. Chuck, what's your take on Kenosha?
Well, first, there's a lot to describe. Again, we had another black man shot in the back 7 times by a police officer in Kenosha. Then there were protests. Unfortunately, there was violence. The Republican convention comes in with people who were standing with guns on their porch in Missouri. And then later in the week, we have a Trump supporter, in my view, a white supremacist, coming in with an AR-15, standing on the property in Kenosha. And ultimately, he ends up shooting and killing 2 more people. To me, this is the ultimate example of what's wrong in Trump's America and how it needs to change. I'm not sure that's going to be the takeaway for everyone, but that is what I saw, and I think it is stark in its reality.
I thought this was a week where the governor had a chance to show leadership, and he fell short. Once again, too little, too late. You saw the governor and the lieutenant governor actually inflame passions right after the incident by very quickly trying to put this incident without knowing the facts yet, saying they didn't know the facts, put this incident in line with all sorts of other incidents that have occurred around the country. I think that inflamed passions on both sides, and the governor's job was actually to calm people down, to reassure people. One of the things I always ask is, what would Tommy Thompson do in a situation like this? And I know that Tommy Thompson would have been there the next day. It took 5 days before the governor arrived in Kenosha. The Seattle troublemakers arrived before then. The national media arrived before then. Attorney General Call arrived before then. Heck, Jesse Jackson got to Kenosha before Governor Evers got there. People need, in a moment like this, to see their governor, not at the headquarters, but on site, calming the situation, reassuring neighborhoods, hugging the aggrieved, standing with law enforcement, and talking with local leaders. That's what they needed to see. And that would have done a great deal to calm things down. Instead, we had 3 or 4 very bad days here, further deaths. It was really a tragic situation, and it could have been stopped with the right actions right away at the start. And it's just a tragedy what happened.
That's a very partisan comment, and I think the reality is lots of conversations were occurring in the age of COVID. These things are handled somewhat differently. But at the end of the day, as you've seen around the country, when these kinds of actions happen, there's a dramatic response from the community, and no amount of cajoling from a leader would have been able to change that. I think that what that entire response by Scott is the Republican response. And what it fails to do is to address the problems that are out there. We have seen an amazing number in a short time of African-American individuals shot by police officers in very questionable circumstances. And the difference between now and Tommy Thompson's era is we have it on video. We have it on video. We've all watched that video. That was not an appropriate police response. Yes, we will wait until we get all of the information, but what happened there was clearly not appropriate. The reality is also in Kenosha that the inflammation of the situation was there from the incident, not from anything that the governor did. It's also from the table that has been set by Donald Trump. He has set an environment where people feel that they are in 2 armed camps. America cannot go on that way. And if we want to lay this at the doorstep of any elected individual, everyone who really thinks about these things closely knows that it is Donald Trump. To try to put this off on governors and mayors who are trying to deal with it in the best way that they can is absolutely a dereliction of responsibility to make sure that we understand who has set the table. Who is the person who at his convention asked armed people to come and talk to the public and say, these are people I trust and respect? Who is the president who has said not a word about concern that we need to have for revising how we handle our police and how we handle these situations? This has become a part of Donald Trump's America. And the idea that we are now unsafe, which is what Donald Trump is peddling, under Donald Trump's America will be better after the election, is belied by the facts. It's an important takeaway from this. This is Trump's America, and it has to change.
The president offered to send help. The governor said no on the first night. It took him 24 hours till he came back later and said yes. He refused to accept the help that was necessary.
Scott, the problem for this president is not whether he sends help. Bull Connor was the help that was sent in Mississippi or Alabama, I forget where, and set the dogs and the fire hoses on people. That is not the response. The response, yes, we need to calm the situation that's at hand. But then we need to have policies that work. And we have to recognize that those things need to change. And there is not one word from this administration about needing to make that happen. That is the problem. Will America get this in the election? I don't know. I do not believe, by the way, politically, that what happened in Kenosha is helpful for the Democratic presidential candidate. I really don't think it helps. But I'll tell you what, we as a nation have to at some time take principle over politics, and this is one of those moments.
And I would hope that in this moment, people would listen to the family. I would say that despite all of the anguish and the pain that that family has gone through in the last week, his mom in particular has shown incredible grace in calling for peace and love and people working together and being our best selves. I wish more people were making those same statements there.
Scott is absolutely right about that, and I think that's a point that we can agree on, and I really hope that that's what we can get going forward. The statements of that woman are really what will bring us forward in a better shape. What troubles me is that the people who engage in looting and violence and whatever, they're not helping. It doesn't matter which side you're on. That's a foolish move. For a family in the great depths of their grief to take the position that they took, as Scott said, that's what we need going forward. And actually, I wish that we could play those words more frequently as we move forward. That will help us heal.
Let's hope for the best for Kenosha.
See you next time.